Joe, your friends, doing episode 3 of the poorly planned, poorly conceived, poorly executed Final Fantasy 7 Remake streaming. I don't know where I left off. I've never loaded from the loading screen before, so maybe just for shits and giggles, we're going to go through the loading screen to make sure I get to the latest loading point. I'm just going to take a second to find and link the video in chat. It's probably pretty late on a school night for most of you, so I doubt anyone will be watching as this is live. But you never know. Okay, so Chapter 5, we're on a train to blow up another Mako reactor. Yep, there's Tifa. If I seem to remember this scene from the original game, I'm going to have to...
I know, but that doesn't mean I don't have butterflies in my stomach.
I'll run some scanners at some point here. It's very cyberpunk kind of contrived threat, having to outrun scanners.
Hey, would you mind keeping an eye on things the next car over? I'm worried there might be trouble.
Why's that?
Barrett's always on edge before missions, but you know he's a good guy underneath it all. The people on this train don't.
He'll be fine.
Maybe, but I won't be until I know for sure.
Be right back.
Thanks.
Nice fully rendered train. A little bit... Aisles are a little bit wide if you ask me, so... On to the next car. Ooh, there's some materia over there. I am going to get stuck into a conversation before I can get my materia.
Avalanche is a blight on Midgar.
Huh?
Their bomb threat has thrown our offices into chaos, let alone the reactor itself. It's total insanity! But we won't lose heart. No! Everyone at Shinra agrees.
I am cookie-cutter businessman. You shall not defeat me. I have executive powers.
What? You got a problem with that?
Do I have a problem with
you know,
that?
honestly, I don't... Whether I felt I had a valid political point or not, I would not try to go to fisticuffs with a guy who's, you know, 5 times my size in an enclosed train, who also has a very obvious Gatling gun for an arm.
You know you're better than
I'm just saying. I'm just saying that guy, his balls are probably preventing him from walking. Not Barrett, but the guy who's stepping up. Let's say. You know, that materia there is pretty big. I don't know if it's going to fit into my sword. Healing materia. We got a good amount of healing going around. Maybe just for shits and giggles, we will take a look through. So who's most likely to survive in a fisticuffs? Yeah, tell you what. Oh no, shit, that won't work. I was gonna say HP up materia. I need that on Cloud just because I need to be able to live. But Barrett. Barrier, cleansing, and just all bringing this shit all together from nothing. It's good that he has healing. Lightning, healing, he has healing too. Tifa. I should have gotten that other. Should I do auto cure materia? I feel like I should. But God, what do I replace? What do I replace it with? I don't know. I don't know if luck up materia is any good or not. I honestly don't know. Revival materia? Use raise, use rise. 5,000 fucking AP. Oh my god, 5,000 AP. I could play the whole game and I don't think I... 5,000. Oh god. That's rich. Okay, so... Tell you what, I'm going to make a trade here. We're going to remove that one, because this auto-cure materia might suck up a few AP points. So we're going to adjust him, give him the Chocobo Chick materia, give cleansing, wind, healing, wind. How about instead of healing materia, we go... Oh, wait. Okay, he already has it equipped, so... Cleansing, barrier, wind, healing. Okay, so... What do we got represented? We got... Fire, healing. Okay, fire, lightning. I feel like... I gotta leave an assess. I want to get the HP leveled up. I gotta leave in chakra. I think it's important. I don't know why, but I think it's important. Auto cure, luck up. I just feel like I'm gonna regret not having the ice materia, but whatever. It's a game. It's a game.
I have nothing more to say to you and your friend.
Thanks. That's good.
Go see how Tifa's doing.
You know what they needed as a side game in this game that I'm kind of a bit disappointed that they didn't put in, or at least I haven't figured out that they put it in, is a card game. There's lots of other little side games and crap, but
This ain't no joyride.
like Final Fantasy VIII had a great card game. No real complaints except that the random modifier was completely pointless and just added this layer of annoying frustration onto everything.
No way!
What an emergency ID scan in progress. Unauthorized IDs detected. Threat level critical. Inspection.
Final Fantasy IX had a good card game too. Never really got too deep into that one. I never finished Final Fantasy IX, to be honest.
Now!
Well, technically, I never finished Final Fantasy VIII either. That close.
Take care of them, Cloud!
They had great card games. There was an actual battle going on here.
You have to get to the next car.
Keep moving, people! Get the car too. Want to survive this? Then move!
To assess every enemy. Lightning and green, whatever the hell that is.
Unauthorized passengers detected. Initiating inspection and detention protocol in corresponding car.
Robots. Why couldn't I just do that with the other ones? Why did I have to go
What are you doing?
Trying to keep you alive.
But I
Toe
work
to
for
toe.
Shinra. I'm the enemy.
I don't care. I don't want anyone to die. Please.
I'll look after the others.
My turn.
Hurter.
There's no end to there.
3 unauthorized passengers successfully contained neutralizing threat.
Seems like kind of a dumb way to deal with passengers, but
The station will be crawling with security.
maybe you could just like do something like shutter the car or something like that.
Sounds like a big plan E.
Yeah, see, that seems just like a flaw in the design. Any old drugged up weirdo could go and smash that button and slow down the train.
Gonna show you how it's done.
Trust me, the people riding trains are, well, let's just say they're not all of sound mind and judgment. You ever been to New York? Yeah, some severe lack of sound mind and judgment on those subway trains. Perfect way to cop a feel.
You okay?
Yeah.
All right. You ready?
Ready.
Going in. It's on now. Let's finish this.
That's gotta be him.
I know we're an urgent thing here, but by golly, I need to just buy shit. Don't you know? Just feel like I need one more Phoenix down. Oh, shit. I could buy 2 more of these mother... Flippers. Oof. That's spendy. Yeah. Alright. I'm just gonna freaking do it while I'm doing it. Yeah, I know. It sucks for the defense. But dang it. Just... gotta do it. Okay, so he's got barrier, cleansing, wind, healing. Okay, so we got thunder, fire, ice, wind. And we need MP up Ontario. We already got one auto cure, assess, lightning, fire, revival, healing. We already got healing. Yeah, I guess MP up. Just to keep training all this shit. Let's take a quick nap to recover from the train ride. Yeah, you bet it's fully restored. Don't you know that once you get...
You think Barrett can hold him off by himself?
I don't know if I'm going the right way. Knows there's a storage room here with my name on it. One potion, evidently. It's kind of a waste for one potion.
We're going the wrong way.
What happens if I keep going the wrong way?
If we keep wandering around, we're gonna get lost.
Just curious. I keep going the wrong way, and what happens?
You see something over here?
I remember playing the original Final Fantasy VII, and there was...
Gotta help Barrett right now.
Alright. Spoiled sports. Yeah, I remember playing the original Final Fantasy VII and having some of these train tunnels, and you go the wrong way down one, and, you know, it would take a bit, but eventually you'd get somewhere, and then there was, like, some special materia there, you know. I always loved games that really kind of rewarded you for just exploring dumb shit, like, I mean, seriously, like, I'm seeing this shit here, and I'm thinking to myself, would they really have me wander all the way down here, all the way into this room here, follow this pipe, open up this room, just for one lousy potion? Is that really it? God, you'd figure there'd be like, you know, some kind of, I don't know, kind of special materia, or a sword, or a pair of gloves for Tifa. I don't know. It's just whatever. Whatever. Make sure this door doesn't open.
Thanks. Or when we jump on the train, I mean.
No biggie. You're pretty light, you
You always know what to say.
Does smooth. 2 high potions. Alright, I will not complain about 2 high potions. It's a bit weird.
Well done, well done. I felt sure we had them, didn't you?
Sir,
Born survivors, these surats. Speaking of which, where's the third?
in custody, sir.
Return it to the wild.
Yes, sir. Right away.
I wonder if that was a thing. Like, if I had run quicker, would I have caught Barrett and he wouldn't have been put into custody? Maybe.
It's them! We have a visual on the target. Requesting immediate assistance.
Come on! Bring it!
Buzz off. It's over.
It's over! That's the way to do it.
Who knows? Maybe I'll never know.
He's close. Come on. Barrett!
Tifa, could use some help here.
should be some stairs over there.
We better hurry.
Yeah.
I've had it up to here with you damn robo-bugs. I'm gonna rip off those splendid legs of yours one by one.
He's this way. Okay, these must be the stairs.
Aha, but what if I go this way? Instead of taking the stairs. What are you gonna do about that?
Hey, I think we missed the stairs.
Yeah. Pretty sure we did.
We're getting sidetracked.
Yeah, I know. That's... Look, if
We've
you
gotta
didn't...
get to Barrett.
I know. If you didn't want me to run this way,
Wrong
you should
way,
have...
Cloud.
Could have done that 60 seconds ago. Asshole. You know, I was thinking about this game today, and about the original versus this one, because it's impossible. The whole point is to make comparisons. You can't not make comparisons. And like, what are the differences? Okay, pre-rendered backgrounds. That's my first thing. I find that you know, whether because I cut my teeth on them or what, I like pre-rendered backgrounds. I think they're pretty nifty. I think there's a lot of opportunity for an artist to work on a pre-rendered background and create a composition, and it's interesting, you know. It's a bit different when you have a fully, you know, like rendered 3D background environment, I should say. You can have a composition, you can have a visual composition, for sure, but the difference is that you control the camera angle. Like, I could just spend my whole time looking down at the ground like an asshole like that the whole game, you know, and I'm really not going to get any kind of good intended experience, you know, like, I mean, okay, that's a whole other subjective thing, intended experience.
That's gotta be the last one.
The point I'm trying to get across is that when you have a pre-rendered background, you're sort of seeing everything in a certain arrangement. The ability to control what the viewer does and how the viewer interacts with their environment is much higher with a pre-rendered background than it is with a, you know, fully 3D environment. With some exceptions, of course. The other thing I think, too, is and it might just be up until this point in the game, but up until this point in the game, the colors have felt very muted. Very sort of, not monochromatic, but just kind of dirty, dusty, dull. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's a cyberpunk world. You live in a giant-ass city. People are trying to survive. We've spent most of the game in the slums, you know, whatever. There's not a lot of color. Whereas in the original game, even though we're in slums and whatnot, color was very prevalent. Color was a way to distinguish the characters, to create visually distinctive characters. Color was a way to mark points of interest on the pre-rendered backgrounds. Oh, there's a doorway. Oh, it's very bright. Okay, I kind of intuitively know that there's something interesting there. Not to say that they haven't done it with this game, but it, like, doors and points of interest and stuff aren't especially highlighted. They're just, you know, they're marked on your wayfinder or whatever, which is fine, I guess. There was a point in time when we didn't have to have shit marked with a wayfinder. I mean, in the history of video games. It's here now, whatever, it's fine. I mean, I love playing The Division 2 and following a little GPS marker, but that was more of an issue of necessity than one of preference. I've kind of lost track of the story here. I think
You
I
have
need to go
nothing to
somewhere and do
worry
something.
about, sir. Preparations for the grand finale are proceeding without incident.
So, the original game, you have pre-rendered backgrounds with a variety of colors. You have characters which are very visually distinctive. Environments which are very visually distinctive.
Sir, analytics
This
reports that
game,
the results fall within the admissible range.
I imagine
However,
things are
the
going to
casualty
look
rate
different when I get to the wall
significantly
market, but
exceeds
things,
previous
again, have been fairly grayscale, I'd say.
Remind me what your job is. Is it to question the wisdom of your superiors and bemoan your personal hardships?
Sir?
Huh. Casualty rate. You think I care about the casualty rate? They're pawns in a greater game. If your stock runs low, then go round up more from Sector 3 or wherever else. Use your head and bring me solutions instead of problems for a change, yes?
Sir.
I think that perhaps I'm going to make an analogy here. There are certain lessons that different industries learn. They learn with certain limitations, and then they have to relearn those lessons as technology improves. I'm going to draw some fairly broad strokes here, so just kind of bear with me. But the closest comparison I can think of... Alright, I have to run back here. I have to. Closest comparison I can think of is the movie industry. Movie industry started with black and white picture, no sound, no real intuitive way of knowing how to tell a story. Well, I shouldn't say that. People only knew how to tell stories using ideas and constructs they already had. You know, the same, we had books, so how does a book flow? You have one scene into the next or whatever. Once somebody figured out how to cut together different pieces of video footage, it was a game changer. Editing was a game changer. The idea that you could construe that something was happening off screen would have just been amazing, right? Like, here's a picture of a train car, here's a picture of train tracks. I look back and, well, we assume that the train is on the same train tracks that we just talked about. I don't have to show something explicitly now. I can imply it. But there were limitations. It was black and white footage. We didn't really have good things that allowed us to see in good dark light. So everything had to be well lit. And what do you not have access to when you don't have access to color? It's much harder to distinguish characters one from another. So you have to make body motions fairly exaggerated. You have to make clothing and characters fairly distinctive looking.
You're done.
And so there were lessons learned. And once color footage came in, there were lessons learned about staging, about making things visually unique, visually identifiable. There were lessons learned about when you have, because the classic storytelling construct is to have a protagonist and an antagonist. Well, it turns out an important thing, both in a literary sense and in a visual sense, is to establish the physical relationship in space between an adversary and the protagonist. Okay, so how do you do that? Maybe you have establishing shots. Maybe there's things you can do to show one party sort of sneaking up on the other, or I don't know. There's a lot of things you can do. But the point is, you, for the sake of the viewer, establish where things are, so that you can use that editing trick that once you establish the relationship between two parties, you can use that editing trick, to focus on something else, to look at something else, and but still maintain in the viewer's mind what the hell is going on. Okay, great. So you've done that. Now you have color. Okay, well, great. And so we're going to take that lesson we learned about establishing visual distinctiveness for people and for things. And, okay, color is great. And you know what? We've had color at our fingertips, not in movie film necessarily, but we've had color at our fingertips in painting and illustration for a huge amount of human history. So you know what? There's some lessons we've already learned there about visual composition, about color, about establishing relationships, about setting mood, about conveying a mood with color. And now, heck, we can put that into movies. So great. The good guy is going to have a certain color to him. The setting, you know what, we're going to make a certain allegory about hell and heaven here. So let's us paint the town red. You know, I can't remember the name of that particular spaghetti western that Clint Eastwood was in. I think it's called A Town Called Hell or something like that. Whatever. And okay, so I mean, you can go overboard with these tools, right? Like having a movie about a town called Hell and then painting the town red. Okay, granted, that's a little on the nose. But you have this tool that you have access to. You can do great things with it. Cool. Now, I would say that in film, you know, I'm leaping over bounds and bounds of middle ground here, and I'm leaving out a lot of exceptions. But in film, we have gotten to a place where we focus much more on spectacle and the idea of conveying a certain feeling through composition, color, character, plot, whatever, has taken a back seat. And okay, well, what does that mean? What's an example of that? I hate to harp on Transformers, but I'm going to harp on Transformers again, because you can feel free to disagree with me. I think from a computer rendering standpoint, they're technically impressive, but from movie making standpoint, in terms of cinematography, storytelling, acting, conveying a message, conveying feelings, they're shit. All the movies are shit. All the modern Michael Bay Transformer movies are absolute shit. And I like to think I'm a person that can be convinced otherwise of things. I doubt I'm going to be convinced otherwise.
Good thing our colleagues put up all that stamp graffiti. Without it, we'd be lost for sure.
So where does that get me with video games? Okay, well, let me dwell on Transformers for a little bit here. Okay, the action scenes. People will tell me, "Hey Joe, you know what? It's an action movie. Just get your thumb out of your ass and just enjoy it for it being an action movie." And I'm going to say, you know what? It's not a good action movie. Even in the realm of just calling something an action movie. There are good action movies, okay? There are action movies that do a really great job of setting up a conflict. There's action movies that have terrible plots, like name any modern Tony Jaa film with like Ung Bat and stuff like that. The plot, razor thin. Absolutely razor thin. Pointless even. You could, holding together the movie, I can't follow the plot. It's pointless. It doesn't do anything. But the action is so good. The composition is so good. The visual relationships between... okay, in an instant, the cinematographer conveys, okay, here's the good guy, here's the bad guy, the bad guy is bad because, ooh, we just saw a scene of him, you know, beating up a kid or something like that. Okay, yes, on the nose, but give me a break. You know, Tony Jaa is an amazing kung fu artist. He's using his talent, his skill to create these extra long fight scenes and explore, you know, all the different calisthenics and things that he can do. This kind of amazing martial artist. And storytelling wise, like I said, terrible. But the thing is, the movie focuses on action. It focuses on a lot of action. You go to that film to see action, you're not going to be disappointed, because there's going to be a shit ton of it. Okay? But the other thing is it doesn't rely on special effects at all. And I'm not here to bash special effects. You know, Jesus, I'm playing a game that, you know, it's all friggin' special effects. Give me a break, you know. It's all technical wizardry, right? But the thing is, I'm going to get off on a lot of tangents here. It's all technical wizardry, but does it add something? Does that technical wizardry as a tool, does it add anything to the conversation? In this case, with Final Fantasy VII Remake, maybe. Well, we wouldn't be here unless there was the technical change. It would just, people would say, what's the point, unless there was this huge technical change. Okay, sorry. Coming back to Transformers and why it's terrible and all that. You have all this technical wizardry. It's an amazing tool, but all the fight scenes are this swirling mess of metal that has no composition. You know, when the swirling mess of metal and smoke is just jumping around and all this bullshit is going on, you can't figure out who's fighting what. You know, do you care? I guess not. Maybe it's just a big, you know, action movie adrenaline jerk off. Maybe you don't care about having a good, you know, visual composition. But yeah, I sound like kind of an old fogey. But it's nice to be able to identify who the good guy is, who the bad guy is at an instant, and have something cool to say about it. You know. Say, you know what, I really enjoyed that fight because it was a knockdown, drag-out affair, and I could really feel the struggle that one party was going through. It wasn't just a mess of swirling metal and noise, and more noise and swirling metal. And the weakness is ice.
Let's switch it up.
All right, watch and learn.
Hold on a second. Let's put a barrier in front of it.
Let me handle this.
I'll come back in a second.
Gotta be slow.
Go.
It's on you.
Great.
Let's...
Time to burn. It's on now. Going in. After you.
I'm up for anything.
I'm waiting.
We got the ice materia.
Sorry, no
Seizing the
choice.
opening.
Need to heal up.
Let's finish it.
There we go.
I know. Why I gotta kill all these men?
Okay, so
Really
Um,
freaked me out.
I guess my big, like I said, my biggest grievance with the Transformers films, it's a big, shiny mess. None of the actors are really using any of their acting ability. I mean, it's a story that would be hard to tell without all the visual spectacle, but it's not impossible. I mean, they had a number of animated series and films and stuff like that. I'm not going to say those were especially high quality, but it's not like they had to rely so heavily on visual effects to tell that story. So, video games. I'm going to, jump the ship and make the analogy here. So, so what's the deal with video games, and what the hell have I been talking about? Okay. We had the original Final Fantasy VII had these wonderful pre-rendered backgrounds that some artists sat there and probably stayed up till the wee hours in the morning, just mired in their own sweat and tears and blood and piss in order to make these backgrounds. And they, convey a feeling. And okay, here's another thing. Okay, so we talked about the limitations of cinematography. What were the limitations of the PlayStation at the time that the original Final Fantasy game came out? A little hard to render emotions visually in the original Final Fantasy VII. You couldn't. I mean, you couldn't, show emotions on faces. So you had to do it through body language, but not just through body language, because that was pretty bad. But through, I should say, you were limited. It wasn't bad. You were limited with body language and text dialogue. So what did you have? You had visual backdrop. You had context, whether it's the context of the story or the surroundings, and music. Music was good for conveying information. Music is still important. I think a lot of artists realize that. I think that there's a little bit of something lost when you're allowed to fully control the camera. Music can be shifted, and you might not, music could shift to something kind of dangerous and speculative, and well, hell, you might not even be looking at what's dangerous, so that could be a bit annoying from a storytelling standpoint to have not know when or how to shift your music, because it's freaking looking at the thing you want them to look at. But you had music, you had the pre-rendered backgrounds that some artists worked on, you had text-based dialogue. Okay. You had those limitations. It forced you to get creative in certain ways. You had to work within creative limitations. And they did. They created something where perhaps you had to use your imagination. I mean, there's always the argument too, because one of the hallmarks of Final Fantasy protagonists has always been this, at least for Cloud and for Squall and whatever, was that they had these kind of emotionless cores that you play as these characters and you make choices and stuff, but they're kind of emotionless in a way. And there's always the classic argument: if you have a protagonist that has no emotions, the whole point is to allow the viewer or the player or the reader to fill in their own emotions into the gaps and thus involve themselves in the story, blah 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 blah. But now, in contrast to that, we have fully 3D characters with fully 3D faces. And, I guess I would say, did you see, or have you been looking closely at the faces in this game? Somebody put a lot of fucking detail into trying to render the faces and to render the is there a ladder there that I'm missing?
Where you going?
Somebody put a lot of detail into rendering faces and shit to try to convey emotion. Okay, so now you have this new tool, and what does it do for you? Okay, it
We've compiled
gives
our
you a
report on
means by
Avalanche's
which you
combat
can
capabilities
convey
and our-
the emotions and feelings of your characters. I think people are going to say that the characters in this game feel a lot more realized, a lot more fleshed out, because they have the ability to show emotions on the faces. Well, that's good, right? Well, yes and no. I mean, would somebody go so far as to say that any television show where the actors can show their emotions is going to be more emotionally emotive or emotionally impacting than a book? Because a book can't visually convey emotions. It's just a book with words. No, I don't think anybody is going to say that there's any old show is better than any old book, because, you know, you pick up some novels and things and, you know, the emotions are very raw. It depends on how well they're conveyed. And you could have a really shitty show that you could have maybe some good actors, but if the way the emotions are conveyed is done poorly, or perhaps they're conveyed well, but the way that, or the context for the emotions makes no sense, you know, like this person is sad, or at least they're trying to convey sadness, but why? It does, you know, like you might see a scene where it's like, okay, I get that they're sad, but why are they trying to convey that emotion? It doesn't make sense in the context. Whereas I think that, you know, it's perhaps a little easier in the written medium for a writer who's very pensive and thinking about a book to kind of say, you know what, I think in this context this person should be this or that or the other thing. And I guess I'm gonna jump back here. So got Final Fantasy VII Remake, fully rendered 3D people, able to fully convey emotions. What have we lost? What have we gained? What is this? Okay, so that was the up there. Okay, so I didn't miss anything, I don't think. I think that for any game or any medium, visual medium, movie, game, whatever, to accurately convey emotions, or to create a sense of emotion or certain feelings, I think that medium should be able to stand. I feel like the scene or whatever's going on needs to be able to stand on its own without having to show the facial emotions. Is Barrett really stuck over there? Like, am I really gonna have to go all that friggin' way back to get him? I hear you talking, but I don't see you. So that would be my baseline expectation, is that any medium that wishes to convey a feeling or a thought or an idea, at the very least should be able to convey those items without having to show people's faces in order to do it. The bracer, what the hell is that? Oh, cool. It's good I spent all that friggin' money on it. Whatever. And I feel that perhaps visually showing emotions on people's faces.
That's that. Deal with that.
About damn time.
Okay, you did load.
No surprises there.
What I want in a medium is the ability to have the message conveyed, but perhaps be
This way leads to the
enhanced
station, not the
by
railroad.
the visual emotions displayed in the body language and in the faces of the characters. I guess I didn't even really talk about voices either, because the original game didn't have voices, so now we have voices. That's another thing. So full audio, full visual rendering, full voices. We have these wonderful new tools. Are we relying on these tools in order to convey the emotion, or because you don't need those tools in order to make emotion work, right? We said books can convey a huge amount of emotion without having to have all that spectacle. So there has to be something inherent that we can provide before we get to the visual elements.
It's a good plan. Hey, hold up. This way.
Alright, I guess we're sneaking up on somebody here.
Security is a lot tighter than I thought it would be.
If they want to stand between us and the rail yard, that's their choice.
Train yard security. Drive off security, keep moving forward. I feel like there was more hidden stuff in the original game, or I just...
Bastards aren't going to get away this time!
Take the lead.
Let me in.
You're toast!
You're up.
I got your number.
Okay, susceptible to fire damage.
No escape.
Alright, I should use my ass's ability.
Too bad.
Stagger gauge is only affected by non-elemental and lightning magic. These lightning. So I think we all knew that.
Bam! Calling lightning.
Let's do this right.
No getting through that gate. Let's take the stairs.
Like all the it's kind of fun to have a game where like multiple shit kind of thing levels up at the same time. I think that's kind of a Japanese thing. Like I see it in a lot of Japanese style mobile games and stuff like that. I don't know whether to heal up or not.
reaching that secret passage real soon. I knew Plan E wouldn't fail us. Should have called it Plan Excellent.
I don't know, it's just kind of like more visually satisfying to see a bunch of stuff kind of level up at the same time. Like you can fulfill multiple quests and things at the same time. It seems more valuable. I mean, it's just a visual trick. You know, they could create 1,000. A visual mental trick. They could, you know, you're still hitting the pellet dispenser, you know, for your thing or whatever. Of course, there's an item respawn thing. Fuckers. Lightning materia. Had lightning materia. But I don't know. They had materia that I could buy that already had a level on it. That'd be good. Buying up all their shit. I see I got plenty of antidotes. I don't have the leather bracers in there yet. Material. Ooh, that's an interesting one. Alright, see how my materia is doing. Saw a few things level up there. Fire materia is coming along nicely. Healing materia is coming along nicely. HP up materia will go up. Not too long. Light materia needs to get to level 2 pretty fast. Oh, okay, so that Ass's materia got to level 2. Alright, good. MP up materia. Let's do poison to kind of cover the spread here. Engage multiple varieties of targets. You know, I mean, physical attacks are great and stuff, but man, some of the magic attacks in this game are just absolutely devastating. Like, I think without too much convincing, I could probably just focus like on Cloud, just giving him all sorts of spirit and MP upgrades and shit like that, and I wouldn't regret it. I don't think I would regret it for an instant. There's just so much powerful magic out there. Alright. What do we got? Attack power. Costs 8 to upgrade. Increases. Magic attack power. Magic attack power. HP. Breaks 5%. Increases the rate at which the limit gauge fills when HP is 25% or lower. That'd be good. 25% or lower. Attack power attribute. Yeah, see, I could just redo this sword with magic attack power. I should just do that. I should just... go all magic. Let's change. I'm gonna go a bit quiet here for a second. I gotta think. Magic attack. Less health, less MP, but more attack. Whatever. Come in. Oh, hold on. Hi. Oh, yeah, it's just Joey barged in one time, so that's I'm streaming there. Is Caitlin still there, or did she depart? Mike's hot, by the way, so don't say anything you wouldn't regret. No? Why not, William?
As soon as you lay down with him, he starts crying.
Sir William, do you not want to fall asleep? Alright, you need me to get him to sleep for you? If I want? Alright, I'll help you get him to sleep. I think it's probably pretty late anyways. Yeah, it's 11:15. Alright, I think I'm going to stop the stream, so for anybody who's listening, have a good night. You can watch me save my game. How about that?